The purpose of our call today is to set expectations. And this is a call that's really designed for a new agent or someone that has been in the business for a long, long time. And what I mean by that in terms of setting expectations is we are the professionals. And if you haven't done this before, you're going to learn a lot about how to set those expectations for your clients. But if you have done this several times before, you're going to recognize it is our job as the professional to convey to our clients what's happening and what's happening before it's going to happen. And there's a lot of little opportunities, little learning lessons, if you will, a lot of teaching moments when you're interacting with a client to help set them up for success and to understand what is going to happen, helping them to understand the process. If we don't tell our clients what's going to happen, they don't know. And then the next thing you know, they're driving the bus, you're all over the place, and you're not being able to put things under contract and get to closing because you're not doing a good job managing your clients. Selling real estate is an emotional roller coaster for people. And we have to recognize that when people are on that roller coaster, it's our job to kind of bring that drama down. When people are purchasing a home, they are doing what may be one of the biggest financial transactions of their lives. They are entrusting you to know what you're doing to help them. So it's important that we take on that role of professional. They're going to look to you for guidance. So your job is to guide them. If you're not guiding them, they're going to be running you around like a crazy person, and it's not effective or efficient. So again, whether we're working with a buyer or a seller, it's really important that we're setting those expectations as to what's going to happen through the process as we're coming along. So something that I say to all my clients, again, whether it's a buyer or a seller, I like to really, I'm a professional in what I do. I do this every day. It's my sole source of income. Well, real estate generated income is my source of income. I think it's really important that, again, we reiterate to our clients that they are about to embark on a big financial journey, and that journey is going to be with you, and that you're a professional, and that you're going to guide them and advise them through that journey. And there's going to be a lot of hurdles and hiccups and things that are going to come along the way, and we're going to solve those problems. And the more resourceful that you can be as a real estate agent, the more problem solving that you can do, particularly solving other people's problems, you're going to get paid, and your family's going to thank you for it. If you are not resourceful and you can't solve problems, get out of this business right now, because you're never going to last. Now let's talk about working with setting expectations from the very beginning. If we're working with a buyer client, as soon as we meet that client, maybe it's an incoming lead, it's really important to do some kind of an intake form, understanding what they're looking for, and saying to that client, this is how it's going to go. This is how I work, and this is how we're going to work together. I don't like clients calling me at 9, 10 o'clock at night. I'm not a brain surgeon. I didn't sign up for that. Nobody's dying on the table. Now, if I'm negotiating or something, I may do a little more after hours with you, Will, but I'm not available 24/7. I'm a professional and I have a family. I can't do that. You all have to decide for yourselves how much you want to give yourselves of your clients. And if you allow them, they will take your soul. They'll take up all your time, and they don't have any consideration. They don't call their doctor at 9 o'clock at night. They don't call their lawyer at 9 o'clock at night. They don't call their accountant at 9 o'clock at night. They call us at 9 o'clock at night. No. You can't do that. It's really important that you set the expectations for your client as to how you work, how you're going to respond, and the role that they're going to be playing through the transaction. Set them up on a search, talk about what they're looking for, say to the client, hey, look, before we go out searching, this is how it's going to go down. We're going to pick 4 or 5 properties, and that's all that we're going to look at. You can't show a lot of houses. I think people get confused. It's our job to set that expectation to help them understand how we're going to shop, what this is going to look like. Very early on in the conversations with the buyer, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, are you planning on financing your purchase, or are you going to play cash? We're going to finance our purchase. Fantastic. Do you have a lender that you're working with, or can I recommend some to you? And then be silent and see what they say. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you're paying cash? Fantastic. Is your cash liquid? Meaning, will you be able to have access to that money in less than 30 days? Because when we have a cash buyer and he has to liquidate assets, when he calls his financial planner and says, hey, I'm going to buy some real estate, need to liquidate some assets. Sometimes financial planners and real estate agents don't always play nice together, because financial agents want to keep that client's money and buy and sell stock and do trading and then make commission off trade. If they liquidate a portfolio or some portion of portfolio and buy real estate, now they kind of move their money to you. Real estate's an excellent financial investment. It's a great way to diversify your portfolio. And if you ever get pushback from someone's financial advisor, ask to speak with them to have a conversation to understand why this may not be a good time for that client to make a purchase before they poo-poo the whole transaction. So again, very early on, before you even put this person in the car, you want to know what they're looking for, And how are they planning on paying? And if they're paying cash, is their cash relatively available? And if they're getting a mortgage, had they spoken with a lender? The buyer has to understand that they are about to go look at people's homes, and sometimes people don't like them coming into their homes unless we know that they can make a purchase. You want to understand that the people that you're working with, if they want to drive around and look at houses, they are also ready to make a purchase. It's important to ask them their timeline. What's your time frame for buying? Well, we're just kind of tipping our toes in the water. We're not going to be buying until next year, but we just wanted to kind of see what's out and about now. No problem. But understand, the homes that you see today are not going to be available when you're actually ready to shop. But I'd be happy to show you a few products that are like kind to kind of give you a feel for the market, to kind of give you a feel for some neighborhoods. How does that sound? And then we'll stay in touch as we move forward. Perfect. If you don't set those expectations, last thing you need to be doing is spending your Saturdays driving people around that aren't going to be buying a house for a year from now, when you have somebody else who may want your time and is looking to buy a house sooner than later. So again, really important that you guys decide how you're going to spend your time and who you're going to be working with. If you don't set those expectations, the clients will run you around like a crazy person. So it's the whole process. The biggest thing to keep in mind is once we get that client under contract, and again, and let me not get too far of myself, sticking with the buyer. Now we've got the buyer, they're in the car, they're driving around. You want to start showing them properties and helping them understand things they want to look for. You want to walk around and point things out. This is an excellent opportunity to help that buyer understand one of the biggest deal killers once you're under contract is the home inspection. Let's have a real good conversation with our clients a handful of times as to what that home inspection looks like and the purpose of a home inspection. We're out on our first showing. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we're looking at an older home. Most of what we're looking at are going to be older homes. I would highly recommend that we have a home inspection. The purpose of a home inspection is for us to learn about the systems and the mechanicals of the house. The purpose of the home inspection is not to go back to Mr. and Mrs. Seller with a laundry list of everything that could potentially be wrong with this home and ask that to fix them. It's important for us to keep in mind we are buying a used home. If we're not okay with buying a used home, then perhaps we should look at new construction. But please keep in mind, even when we look at new construction, we're going to have a punch list and we're likely going to find something wrong. The good news is almost everything can be fixed. The good news is if you find a house that you want to buy, there's somebody that wants to sell it. And let's all work together to get the deal done. Work with the home inspector and we'll negotiate these things. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, keep in mind, if we have some safety items on this home inspection report, those are probably things we're going to go back and talk to Mr. and Mrs. Seller about and ask them if they would rectify. We may find something on this report so egregious that we can't proceed with our purchase if we're not comfortable, and that's okay. But we'll take that as it comes. I've been selling real estate for a long time. There's nothing that can't be fixed. It's just a matter of your level of comfort working with the other party to get it rectified. How's that sound? Okay, great. Let's keep going. But if you don't set that expectation for Mr. and you've got to say it a few times, just as I'm saying something to you once, you're going to have to hear this a few times to understand. You want to say this when you're looking at another home and another home and another home. And if you start hearing Mr. and Mrs. Buyer having a problem with every little thing, then it's your job to pull Mr. and Mrs. Buyer over and say, hey guys, what are we doing? What are we looking at? I'm hearing a lot that you're not happy about homes that have maybe some deferred maintenance. Should we look at a newer community? Should we be looking at something else? It's your job to guide them and advise them. They're on Zillow and whatever other random website shopping. And of course, they're also on your home search, but they're double dipping. They're on somebody else's home search too. You are naive if you think that your clients are only searching on your websites. They're not. I had a client who's truly is a raving fan of mine. He sends me listings from Redfin all the time. And I'm like, could you please use no, I like that. Okay, whatever. Just make sure you call me. Just make sure you call me. So you have to understand when people sign up, particularly that internet lead, they're not just shopping on your site, they're shopping on somebody else's. It's going to be speed to lead, and then the best that you can do to set those expectations. And the big part of setting those expectations as you're speaking with your client, you're helping to bring down the anxiety. You're helping to bring down the what ifs. You're helping them understand this is kind of what happens next. And guess what? We're going to look at a handful of homes. Bring your checkbook when you come, because we may find one that we like and we may want to put forth an offer. Oh, we're not ready for that. Okay, well, then what are we doing? What's our time frame? Let's re-examine our expectations. Houses are selling very fast, and maybe we shouldn't even be looking at houses. Maybe we should be talking about neighborhoods and school systems and things of that nature. So again, it's our job to help the client understand what's going to happen before it's happening, kind of like a what's next. And then as it's happening, helping them manage what's going on. Again, you go to the next house. Hey, remember, we're going to have a home inspection. The things that you can add, and if you're new to the market, if you are a new real estate agent, you haven't sold a lot of homes, or you are newer to a market where you're not familiar with the product, I would highly suggest that you reach out to a couple of home inspectors in that area, introduce yourself, and say, hey, look, in your experience, you've been doing home inspections in this year for 20 years, according to your website. What do you find to be the most common things that you seem to come up with? Is there a common theme of stuff, or truly is every house different? Call your local pest inspector. Hey, I'm new to the market. We have pest inspections. What kind of pests are you guys talking about when you're doing pest inspections? What do you tend to find on your pest inspection reports? How do you rectify that? The good news is now you know, and when you're out with your client, you're going to say, hey, look, guys, there's a lot of wood around this property, a lot of decking around this property, and I see that the wood's been eaten a little bit. We're going to have a pest inspection. Here in southern New Jersey, our pest inspections are for wood-boring insects. Our wood-boring insects typically are powder post beetles and termites. Let's talk about them. Knowing what to expect helps the client understand that should we have a pest inspection come back and we've got some critters, guess what? We talked about this. We kind of knew it was going to happen. No big deal. Happens all the time. Oh, okay. But if the client doesn't know it's going to happen, they feel like they're blindsided. And then it's like you're kind of scrambling to fix something when there's going to be hurdles to hop. I don't want to call them problems. I like to call them hurdles. There's going to be hurdles to hop. And the more resourceful we are at hopping the hurdles, we're going to get to the closing. It's the same thing with the lender. You get a pre-qual from a buyer and you don't know who this lender is. Hey, Mr. Lender, let me introduce myself. I'm also working with so-and-so and so-and-so. And they're actually also shopping for properties. You've given me a pre-qualification for $400,000. Is that the most that they can spend? Can we do a little bit more? Can we do a little bit less? Where are we standing? Do they have deposit money? Are we good? We want to work together to get these people to closing. And by the way, they're shopping for condominiums. Can you fund a condominium in New Jersey? Questions you have to ask when you have different product. You have to make sure that you've got lenders that are your resources to help get deals done. You want to make sure you have home inspectors that are not deal killers. You always want to be able to recommend a couple of these contractors. And then at the same time, you want to have the resources for people that can help fix these things. On the buying side of the transaction, you are going to find that there are listing agents that have no idea what they're doing. And you're going to go to them with a home inspection report. When you have a home inspection report, do not send the listing agent the entire home inspection report. Have a conversation with your client about the report, read the report, speak to the home inspector in case you have any questions about the home inspection report, and then call your client back and have a conversation. And again, reiterating that expectation that had been previously set. Now that we have the home inspection report, let's take a look at this. Good news is there's no safety items. That's often in the marginal section. There's a couple of things that they're recommending. And in like the minor section, there's a couple of things they're asking us to keep our eyes on. How do you guys feel about this? And keep your mouth shut. Let's not say to Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, what's good? Let's see how they feel about this first. We're pretty good about this. I'm kind of handy and I can fix these things. Awesome. We're good. We are. Okay, fantastic. I will go ahead and reach out to Mr. and Mrs. Seller's agent and let them know that we are not requesting any home inspection repair items and we're going to proceed with our next step. Fantastic. And then talk about what that next step is. If we do have items and they want to come up with a laundry list, hey guys, remember, we spoke about this. The purpose of the home inspection is not to go back to Mr. and Mrs. Seller with a laundry list of things that are wrong. Homes are priced within a range. The homes that are in better condition, better shape, better everything should be the higher price of the range. The homes that are not in great shape should be the lower price of the range. The seller should be kind of picking the price within the range, and you should be educated enough to say to your client, hey, look, we're buying this house at the lower end of the price range for this product. So we have to expect it's priced that way for a reason. They're not pricing it like the Taj Mahal and then trying to sell you a dump. They're pricing it like something on the lower end because they recognize things need to be wrong and they're not able to fix them. And they're kind of expecting us to do it. Are we okay with that or not? But it's our job to manage that client and manage their expectations. Otherwise, your deal is going to fall apart. And we're the only ones in this industry that don't get paid until the very end. Not so smart. I don't know why I picked this, but here we are. And I love it, but we don't get paid till the end. So trust me, the more expectations that you can set as you're going through the process, the better off that your client's going to be And you're going to not just go from getting them under contract, but now you're going to get the closing. My closing rate is 99.9%. My deals do not fall apart. And my deals do not fall apart because we have set expectations early and often from the very beginning. Everybody knows what's happening before it's happening. And if you are working with an agent on the other side, start setting the expectations for that person if you don't know them and don't know that they're going to be able to do a good job. You tell them what's going to happen next. You tell them how it's going to go. Because likely, they may not be driving their own bus. They may be getting run around by their clients and they don't know what to do either. When you are out shopping for properties with a client, it's important that we narrow down the selection of what they're looking at. The goal is not to show every home that's available for sale. The goal is to really have good conversation with them, peel back the onion, try to really understand what they're looking for, listen to them while they're shopping for properties to understand, is there something else, that a resounding thing that they keep saying that they haven't actually asked for, but they really do want. It's our job to listen and adjust that search accordingly, whether it's price, location, or whatever it is, adjust accordingly if we need to. But part of it is to help Mr. and Mrs. Buyer understand at some point we're putting forth an offer and this is what it's going to look like. Because if you don't ever ask them to put forth an offer on a home, they may not know when they're supposed to do that step. And if you don't ever ask for the sale, if you will, they may never give it to you. I had a story. I had an agent that on the listing side, I was the listing agent. I had an agent that kept coming back to my listing with these same buyers 3-4 times they came. This is a few years ago, so they had time on the market. I said to her, I don't understand, like, what's going on? You've been back 3 or 4 times with the same people. It's like the fourth showing. What's the problem? Well, I don't know. They just haven't put forth an offer. I said, did you ask them? Are they pre-qualified? Did you ask them for an offer? She was like, well, what do you mean? Are we going to look at it or are we going to buy it? What are we waiting for? Waiting for somebody else to sleep on it? Like, come on. What are we shopping, or are we window shopping? Are we looking, are we test driving cars? Or are we looking to buy one? If you don't ask for the sale, the consumer won't know necessarily that this is what I'm supposed to do next. And sometimes like the relationship kind of pitters out because the client is looking to be driven. They don't know. And they're looking to be guided. Oh, well, she said this is what's going to happen. Helen-Ann said we're going to get pre-qualified from one of these lenders and we're going to have our little pre-qual with us and bring in our checkbook. And Helen-Ann said we're going to look at 5 properties. And she said, don't be surprised if we find them what we love. And guess what? We did. Now, they might not find one that they love, but you have to help set the expectation. Chances are you're seeing your top choices right out of the gate. Don't be surprised if you see one that you love. Let's be ready for this. That's why we're talking to a lender. That's why we're bringing our checkbook, because we want to make sure that if we find a house that we like, we can put an offer on it and start negotiating, right? That's simple. But if the client doesn't know that that's what's supposed to happen, well, what do you mean? I'm bringing my checkbook before. Well, you're buying a house, aren't you? You don't go to the supermarket without your wallet, right? So help set the expectation. Get them ready for what's going to happen next. And as you're showing property, get them ready for what's going to happen once they're under contract. You're leading them through the process. But if all you do is open doors and stand back and say, what do you think? Like HGTV? No. You want to show the highlights of the property, the features of the property. If you have any questions about the property, call the listing agent. If you leave that property and you think your clients are interested, call that listing agent and say, hey, do you have any offers? What's going on? Tell me about your people. This is a relationship business, and you will be surprised. The more conversations that you have with other agents, the more information they will tell you. Don't text them. Hey, my name's Helen-Ann. We haven't done a deal together. It's nice to meet you. My people are really interested in your property at 123 Main Street. What's going on with your clients? Where are they going? What's happening? Why are they selling? And then shut your mouth. And you'll be surprised at what people will tell you. They may even tell you their client's bottom line. That's not what they're supposed to do, but you will be surprised. The more that you can align yourself, because our job is to work together. We're all working together to have our clients buy the house and somebody else's clients sell the house, or vice versa if you're the listing agent. You have to set the expectations, and you go through that through the entire process. You have to help the buyer understand your lender, once you're finally under contract, is going to repeatedly ask you for the same things over and over and over and over and over again. Take your time, gather your information, save your emails, keep yourself together, and we'll get through the process. But help them understand, because you don't need them to get frustrated with an underwriter or a processor keeps asking for crap that they've already given, and now they're ready to throw up the towel. Well, Helen-Ann said that this might happen. Okay, particularly if you're using a certain lender that you know is going to be a train wreck, let the client know, hey, I've got somebody else I'd like to have you speak to first. It's okay to speak to a couple of different lenders. It's a good idea to actually speak to a couple of different lenders. But these are all expectations that you guys should be setting along the way. The same thing on the selling side. I'm actually here at my house in Florida. I don't have my Florida real estate license. Our neighbor here in Florida has listed her home for sale. She was telling my mom last night that she's really frustrated with her agent. She's been on the market for less than a month. They've had a handful of open houses. They want to have another open house this weekend, and her house isn't sold. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think that listing agent had a conversation with Mr. and Mrs. Seller about days on market? Do you think that the listing agent had a conversation with Mr. and Mrs. Seller about pricing their home within a range? And if you want to be the top of the range, because you have a beautiful home, and you have a beautiful home, but the homes at the top of the range may take a little more time to sell because they're not really positioned as a deal. Okay. So this is about how long it's going to be that your home's going to be on the market. And this is what it's going to look like. And this is what showings are going to look like. We have a showing system, and this is how it's going to work. And when the showing comes, you're going to leave your house. You're not going to be here. You're going to pack up your pup and your kids, and you're going to leave the house. You're not going to sit on your sofa and watch football. You're going to leave your house, and you're going to straighten up before you go. Okay. And if they're like, well, what do you mean? Then you have to say to yourself, before you take that listing, it's a business decision. And you have to say to yourself, can I work with these people or can I not work with these people? Because there's some people that are flat out crazy. I have a degree in psychology. I do really good with crazy. I don't want to specialize in crazy, but I do really good with crazy. I can manage that. But if you have clients that won't even leave their homes for showings, you have to understand this could potentially be a problem. These are all the things that you have to set. You kind of have to set the stage before the show starts. This is how it's going to go. It's like a choreography dance. And this is how it's going to go. So again, you wonder to yourself, now here's a poor agent that's been on the market with these people for less than 30 days. She spent money on marketing, advertising. She's doing all this stuff, open house, open house, open house. And the people are ready to fire her. Well, I'm going to go talk to the neighbors and say, hey guys, just a FYI, the market's been cooling a little bit here. Days on market's a little bit up. You're going to need a little patience. I don't even know the girl who listed it, but I feel like I'm sure she's doing a decent job, but she didn't set the expectation. The last thing that you need to do is have someone call you after 30 or 45 days of being on the market when you've spent all this money for photography, marketing, virtual assistants, everything else. And then they turn around and say, hey, we want to withdraw our listing because it's not sold. Our expectations have not been met, when they don't even know what the expectation was, right? If you're working with a client where time is important to them, then you price the home accordingly. If you're working with a client who wants to get top dollar for their home, depending upon the timing in your market, it's critical that you tell them how long that's going to take. Because if they don't know, they're going to have ants in their pants and they're going to think that you're a fool and they're going to want to hire somebody else. And hiring somebody else isn't going to solve their problem. They just need some time on the market, depending upon the market. During a time during the COVID craze, we had homes that were selling in less than a day, 2 days, 3 days. You'd have multiple offers. It was disgusting. I live in a shore community. We would purposely wait and list houses on a Thursday. We would list the houses on a Thursday because then it got syndicated all over the place. It gave all of my out of town, I work primarily out of town buyers, I'm second home market. It gave all of these out of town clients time to call their agents and make appointments to see the listing for either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I would say to my sellers, hey guys, you're going to have a ton of showings this weekend. Don't come to the shore this weekend. Don't come down. Don't come to the house. Don't come down. Don't have the kids come. Don't have the grandkids come. Don't bring your dogs. Don't come. Stay home for 3 days. Because on Monday, I'm going to be calling you and we're going to have a handful of offers and it's going to be over. But if you don't set that expectation, they're going to come down with the grandkids and the dogs and hang out. And all of a sudden, they're upset with you because there's people calling. Well, you want to sell your house, don't you? It's a really hot market. I remember working with buyers and having the listing agents call me and say, you had a 3 o'clock appointment. It's just 3:10. My people have been out of the house all day. Where are you? I'm sorry. Did you not set the expectation? They should not have come to the shore this weekend. They have 50 showings. What do you think's supposed to happen? Tell them to pack up their crap and go home. And on Monday, they're going to have a big fat offer. But right? They didn't set the expectation. And that's what you have to do all along the process. And I hope you guys are kind of getting the gist of this, that you have to set the expectation. This is what's going to happen. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you're going to have to give a deposit. That's a small deposit. Let's talk about what the contract looks like before we get into it. Every time that you're with your client is an opportunity for you to add value to them, to bring something to the table that helps them understand that you're a professional. I think phone calls are critical. To email that to someone could be difficult. Hey, can we have a conversation this evening for 15 minutes? Just want to talk to you a little bit about financing and some of our next steps. Oh, okay. Next steps. Wonder what that could be. They don't know. They're going to look for they're going to look for a property forever until you tell them what those next steps are supposed to be. And it's the same thing with getting into the escrow. Once you're under contract, I used to say getting under contract was 50% of the battle. I think it's even less than that, depending upon the product that you're selling. If you have a lender involved, inspector involved, pest inspection, home inspection, septic, radon, depending upon where you live, the more inspections that you have, it's the more opportunity for something to go wrong. So again, my contract to close ratio is huge because of my resourcefulness. You have to be able to solve the problem, not just for your clients, but you have to be able to solve the problem for the other agent and their clients. And you have to be able to offer solutions and think solutions. Everything can be solved. Every hurdle can be hopped. It's just a matter of how much it's going to cost and how hard it's going to be. And if we're all committed to the deal and getting it done, we can do that. And a big part of our job is trying to minimize that drama, but setting the expectations early and often on either side of that deal, buyer or seller, doesn't matter. You need to do that. Same thing with the home. When you're interviewing, for the listing and you have that listing, hey guys, this is how it's going to go. We're going to have showings. And people are going to come to your house. They're going to leave some feedback. Some of the feedback might not be so nice. It's okay. It's important if we have if we have feedback that's coming back over and over and over and over again, then we really need to pull over and take note of what someone's saying and make some adjustments. Okay. You want to get the little agreements from them along the way. Hey, and by the way, we're going to have a home inspection. And chances are their home inspector is going to tear apart this house. He's going to have to justify his $500 for his home inspection fee. And he's going to find a laundry list of stuff that's wrong. Is there anything that you care to share with me now about the house that maybe you already know is wrong? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when's the last time you had your septic system inspected? When's the last time you had your well tested or your water tested or you have your water treatment system serviced? Have you ever had any pests? Have you had a pest treatment before? Asking them little questions like that kind of helps you in your mind understand what might be happening a little bit later. Newer homes, maybe not such a big deal. Older homes could be a very big deal. In an older home, you may want to have a home inspection done up front. Ask Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, hey, look, if we have a home inspection now, we know now what's wrong with our house. We now have a chance to fix it on our time and not be under some 30-day pressure now that we're under contract and go into escrow to try to get this thing closed. So it's those little expectations along the way. And I'd like to open this up to questions because I don't want to just keep talking at you guys. I want to hear if anybody has that they'd like to share, if they have a challenge, or if there's something that I can help them with in terms of a hurdle to hop. Every problem can be solved. I do a lot of mentoring with other agents, and I do a lot of problem solving on deals all the time. Here's a perfect example. I sell a lot of condominiums, okay? If you sell in complexes or in communities, take a look in that community and see who's an agent who's had a recent sale in that community. See who had the buyer's agent in that community and call the buyer's agent. Hey, was the community easy to work with? Was the association, did they have their act together? How was their budget? Who did you use for financing? Are their insurances okay? I've got some clients who are interested in the community. I was kind of wondering what was going on. You just represented someone there. How did it go? And see what they say. Because all you're really doing now is building a connection with somebody else. I have appraisers that will call me and say, hey, can you do me a favor and go in the MLS and look at this listing? What's up with the sale? I don't understand the number. Oh, hey, I can tell you the number. Here's the inside deal. And I can call this person, that person, and call them back and say, this is what happened. Oh, okay. So when you have industry professionals reaching out to you to help them understand the market, it's really important that you understand the market too. And reaching out to like I have a client right now. She lives in a condominium complex. There's 10 units in the association. There has not been a sale in that association for the past 8 years. You might be thinking, well, so what? A seasoned real estate agent is going to say to themselves, it's an HOA. There's a chance their budget may not be in order for replacement costs, given how much construction costs have gone up over the past couple of years. Their replacement costs and their insurance is likely lacking because very rarely do insurance agents call their clients annually and do reviews. I have a handful of properties. I have a lot of insurance policies. None of my insurance agents call me annually and say, hey, let's talk and do a review. Your home's now worth $1 million. Your insurance is only going to recover replacement costs for $500,000. We're lacking. We need to bring this up. So sometimes you have a condominium association where they haven't increased their insurance in 20 years. Well, guess what? You might say, well, who cares? I care because when I take the listing and Mr. Buyer comes along and Mr. Buyer brings a lender, that lender is going to look at that insurance and that underwriter is going to say, no go. If this place burns to the ground, we can't replace it for how much we've just funded this loan for. we're not funding this project. They have to increase their insurance. And you're going to find this out, what, 10 days before closing? And then what? Call the president or the treasurer of the association, say, hey, I'm the listing agent and I'm an idiot. I didn't realize this before now, but you guys don't have enough insurance and we can't close until you do something. Now you have an association that has to have a big conversation about what they're going to do next. Well, that's not good, because a lot of times in these associations, they're volunteers, right? They're volunteers. They don't know what they're doing. They're volunteers. So now I have to sell to an association or a board. They have to increase their insurance. The good news is the place hasn't burned down in the meantime. The bad news is the place does burn down. You guys are actually negligent because you know that you're underinsured and you're not properly insuring everybody that you're now supposed to be caring for. Before I made that phone call, I find out from the insurance provider, how much is it going to cost to increase the insurance? Because if I have to be the bearer of bad news, I better know how much it's going to cost. And spread out over 10 people, oh, guess what? It's $100 each, no big deal. Oh, okay, we can do that. But when you come at people and you don't have solutions and you don't have answers and all you have is potentially a problem, that's not good, right? That's not good. And I'm getting away from expectations to problems, but that's what it's about. If you can solve problems and you have to preemptively say to yourself, what might go wrong here and who should I start reaching out to in the meantime to set ourselves up for success? So before I even take that listing, we have a heads up to the board. We're about to list something here and we're underinsured. How do you guys want to handle it? So that at least now they have a chance to work it out. I don't want to find this out under contract right before closing. Now we have a chance to work it out. The more time that we allow ourselves to get to solve a problem, we can get there. Does anybody have any questions or have anything that they would like to just say? Again, I don't want to continue to talk at you. Does anybody have a deal that they have under contract right now and that this is that they may need some assistance on? Yes, Kevin, setting the right expectations from the beginning is so important. It truly is. It truly is. And if you are a newer agent, all these little things are lessons along the way. It's not our job to point out all the things that are wrong in a house, but when we see something that is an item of concern, we might just want to make a little bit of a note and bring it to our client's attention. But again, it's important to manage the expectations of our clients. We are shopping for old homes, not new homes. When you shop for a used car, there's a chance there might be a little ding in it. There might be a little something, there might be a little scratch in it. There might be a little, stain in the back seat. Well, you can't go back to the car dealer and say, I'm not giving you $20,000 to fix all this shit. No. It's priced $20,000 because it has that stuff wrong with it. If you wanted a new car, you go to the new car dealer and then you can bitch at them and get a nice, fresh, clean car and nothing's wrong with it, but you're going to pay that price. Oh, okay, I understand, right? But if that client doesn't understand, they don't know either. Rami, you have your hand up. Yes, babe.
Yeah, so my agents and I always had this question about making offers. When they're making low offers right now, what do you tell them?
Your clients are making lower offers?
Yep.
Okay. A lot of times what I try to do is in my market, I can see what the ratio is of asking price to closing price. And I help them understand that this is the ratio right now. So what that kind of means is that's in the seller's mind, what they're expecting, because they're looking to sell within that ratio. And we can look at comps, and it's really more a matter, if they've put a couple of low deals in and they're not getting there, okay, guys, we're missing the mark on the price. I think a lot of buyers right now are under the false impression that the market's really going to come down dramatically. And that's not happening. I am seeing price reductions, price adjustments. I have like 10 active listings right now, and I've had to do a handful of price adjustments on them. We came out of the gate a little too strong. That's all. And now we're just adjusting ourselves to where we really need to be. But our pricing really, guys, always has to be based upon really the current competition. It almost doesn't really matter who sold yesterday, because the guy that sold yesterday, he's not on the market today. We can use him as a guide from a pricing perspective, but somebody else already bought that guy's house. So these are the houses that we get to pick from. And these are their prices. And again, that's kind of, this is where we are today. And when we're talking to a seller who's like, well, my neighbor I want to get 10% more. Well, let's talk about pricing. And starting back from, we had some really negative outlooks for pricing this past year. And although pricing outlooks had to be adjusted, we really are not appreciating during the COVID freeze like we were before. Most markets are appreciating 3, 4, 5%. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we can sell today at this number, or maybe we could wait a little while longer and go a little bit higher. But I think it's really more a matter of motivation. I try to work with people that are motivated, more that they have someplace else that they want to go to. Not the guy that says, well, I have all the time in the world. I don't have all the time in the world. No. And I make my listing agreements be for at least 6 months. Back in the day, depending upon market time, I'd make them for a year. But why? Why? Well, I don't know, days on market's forever. You're asking me to market your home, advertise your home, do open houses, spend all this money, but then you're not going to give me a chance to sell it? That doesn't seem fair, does it? No. You have to set yourself up for success. Now, if they price their house like a fire sale, that might be a different story. Okay, let's do a 30-day listing as well. This thing, you want to blow it out? Let's blow it out. I recently was working with some sellers. I met them, gosh, I don't know, mid-July. He says, my new wife has to get back to Arizona for her job, and she has to be in Arizona by October 1st. This is mid-July. All right, no problem. When do you want to have the house on the market? Well, I'm going to need a few more weeks to get some stuff done. Okay. I said, well, just want to let you know, right now, our days on market's about 30 to 45 days. We're sitting for about a month now, even for the things that are priced a little more aggressively. So with all due respect, if you want to be out of here by October 1st, we need to be under contract by the end of August, which means I've got like less than 4 weeks to get your house under contract, and you're not even ready to be listed yet. So we're not really setting ourselves up for success. It's important that you help the client understand. Now, it's not to say, oh, well, the other listing agent, you can do it. Let's be realistic. Again, you just need to help. You want to work with them, don't get me wrong, but you don't want to set an unrealistic expectation. And if someone says to you, time is more important to me than money, then you want to price their house at that point of a sweet spot where it's going to move fast. And if they're saying to you, hey, we're not getting the offers, and what do you think? What do you think? I really need to get going. Then you need to reduce their price. But when you have the guy that says, well, hey, I want to sell at the top of the range, but where's my buyer? Well, then my friend, you need patience, because you're asking someone to give you a lot of money for your house. They're going to have to look at the other houses and see the value there. And until they do, we're just going to have to chill out in the meantime. Okay. And if you let them know what that chill out looks like, got it. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, right now it's taking 14 showings to get a home sold. Oh, okay. So after 3 showings, when they're calling and saying, where's my offer? Well, no, there's not going to be an offer, because it takes about 14 showings right now on average to get the houses sold. That's what we're seeing in our market, 14 showings. According to Showing Time, it can tell you these statistics. Oh, okay. Now they're not freaking out. Like the poor neighbor next door, they're ready to fire that poor girl. I got to go over there. I don't even know who that girl is. I feel like I got to mitigate this situation. I don't have any skin in that game, but I know how hard you work as a listing agent. I know how hard she's working, and we're not there yet. It just takes a little bit of time. It just takes a little bit of time. Does anybody have any questions more about expectations or a situation that they're in right now and they don't know what to do? But again, if you don't ask the questions, you don't know. Back to, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, are you going to pay cash for your purchase, or are you going to do mortgage financing? Ask right away and say it just like that. Hey guys, excellent. As I'm going through our home search and we're starting to work together to find out some of the homes that you want to see, tell me, how are you planning on paying for your purchase? Will you be paying cash, or will you be obtaining mortgage financing? Oh, we don't know. Okay. Well, in my market, for the most part, most of our clients put about 20% down because we are a second home market. Unless you're buying a primary, there's some other loan products that are less. You're looking at a $400,000 home. You're going to need about $8,000 in deposit money, plus, I don't know, between $5,000 and $10,000 in cash for closing costs. So do you have about $90,000 liquid, or could be relatively liquid in a short period of time? Yep, we sure do. We have it in savings. Awesome. Well, if they have $90,000 in savings, there's a good chance they have credit to go along with that $90,000 in savings. Let's get them in touch with a lender. Let's make sure that they're qualified to buy, because their debt to income ratio could be completely out of whack. Don't get me wrong. People that have significant savings don't tend to have significant consumer debt, in my experience. You would take your savings and pay off your debt, right? But so again, if they have significant savings, you say to yourself, okay, they've got it. When you have the buyer on the phone goes, oh, I have an 820 credit score and I have 4. Okay, fantastic. Slow down. You're ready. You're ready. Now you know that person's ready to roll. But when that person goes, oh, gee, no, I don't have $90,000. I have $10,000. Okay. How are you planning on paying for your purchase? Or, okay, we're in a planning stage. Or maybe we're just dreaming. We're not really shopping for houses. I don't want to work with dreamers. I need to work with people shopping. I mean, I do make dreams come true, but we have to bring that dreamer back down to reality, because they have to write that check. And if there's no money in the checking account, we can't write a check. So all of those things, helping the client understand the escrow process, all the things that are going to happen along the way. Right before the closing, you're going to get an email that we're going to have to put the utilities in our name. You're going to get a settlement sheet about 5 days before closing. Right before closing, the day before, you're going to have to go rush to the bank and do a wire transfer. All the little things. You have to set the expectations. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer and Seller, as you're shopping for new homes, please don't go out and buy a new car. Please don't go out and apply for the credit card at the local furniture store to furnish your new home, because we don't really want to tap into any consumer credit right now because you're trying to get a mortgage. That tap into the consumer credit could really screw you. So just setting the expectations for people. I do coaching and training and mentoring, but again, I actively practice. I think it's really important. But if you're going to help other agents with their real estate careers, you have to practice what you preach. And I don't like calling it practice, because we shouldn't be practicing. We should know what the hell we're doing. But again, I see a lot of agents that come into my market and they don't know what they're doing. So a big part of my job is I like to guide them and advise them. I will send an email to the other agent, and the email will be written in a way that I truly am encouraging them to send it to the other client. Send it to your client. Send it right off.
Hey, so I have a question, and this is more geared towards the newer agents, because one of the things that I get asked a lot by some of our newer team members is, well, the buyer doesn't want to sign any agreement, but they want to go look at properties. How do you overcome that objection?
And I can appreciate that. And typically in a situation where we're finding buyer agency commission has become a real big thing in our market right now.
Yeah.
What is a really important thing to do is a lot of times the consumer doesn't understand how the real estate agent works. They don't understand how they get paid. They don't know. They truly just do not know. They think that we get some kind of magical salary somewhere and it all just works out. They don't know. So a big part of our job in first meeting with that consumer is explaining how we work. And a lot of teams will say, well, we're not taking anybody out unless they sign that buyer agency agreement. And we do have buyer agency agreements. And I will say to a consumer, I want you to understand, I'm going to spend my time to look for homes for you, and I'm going to be exclusive to trying to work with you. And I use like a dating scenario, to be honest with you. I'm going to say, I'm not the kind of girl that likes to run around. I kind of like to, I'm not saying like we need to get engaged or anything, because we're just kind of getting to know each other. But I would like to ask you to be loyal to me. And if you find a home or you find something that you have a question about real estate related, I would like for you to call me, because I'm going to be allocating my time to you. And at the end of the day, I will not get paid unless I'm successful for you. And I really want to make sure I can do a good job for you. And I'm going to give my time to you. And I'm going to ask you in exchange to be loyal to me. Now, at some point later, as that relationship grows, they may be comfortable. And I can appreciate a buyer saying, well, God, I just met you. I'm not so sure I want to sign anything. I just met you. And I can appreciate that. Let me prove to you that I'm smart. And let me prove to you that I'm a good agent. Let me prove to you that I know what I'm doing. And then you will feel more comfortable about this. How's that sound? Okay, that's cool. But I think sometimes you have to give that consumer a chance. But I can appreciate what you're saying. But I will say to that consumer, hey, listen, I only have so much time and I can only work with so many clients. I would like to choose to work with you. And I would like for you to choose to be committed to working with me. And I don't want you to cheat on me, okay? And you can just kind of give me like a little wink and a nod. I don't want you guys to run around on me. And I want you to be loyal to me. If you do happen to go into an open house or something, please let them know that you're working with me. And if you see a property, please reach out to me and I will get you all the information. But you as a consumer are going to be more hot and heavy to find your house than I will be, to be honest with you. And you're going to be on Zillow 24/7, getting those alerts like crazy. Every 5 minutes, you're going to get an update of a new home on the market. If you see anything that you like, please let me know and I'll get you all the details. Okay? Can we agree to that? How about we have a hand? Let's shake on it. That kind of a thing. Just getting them to have some kind of an agreement that, yeah, I'll be committed to you. And guess what? If I'm a knucklehead, tell me. If you are working with somebody else, if you do find that you want to date somebody else, that's okay. But would you just please let me know? Let me down gently so I can go find somebody else to help. Okay, because I don't want to waste my time. And just maybe being a human to them. How do you get paid? I don't get paid for my time. I only get paid if I can help you find a house. So my resources are limited. I want to work with you exclusively, and I want you to try to not run around on me and date other girls right now. Okay, what do you say? Give me a chance. And people are like, oh, that's funny. Okay, but then they kind of get it. They kind of get it. I hope that was helpful, because
thank you. It's always nice to hear things from a different perspective.
Oh, okay. Or just try to find some sort of a way that you can connect with them to help them to understand that I can only help so many people, and now I'm going to choose to work with you. And I'm going to put you on my list. I only work with 4 buyers at a time. So if
Yeah.
you could just please let me know if you're going to be working with somebody else or you're going to run around on me. It's okay, but just be honest with me because I have to make sure I allocate my time properly.
Yeah. No, that's excellent advice. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. I want to help. You know, and if any of you get jammed up, please feel free to, reach out to me and say, hey, I actually, in my calendar, I help agents all the time with problem solving.
Mhm.
I've got a deal and don't know what to do. But you need to be resourceful. I can promise you, the more resourceful you are and the more problems that you can solve and letting the client know this is going to happen. And it's part of the process. It's totally okay. We don't need to be doom and gloom. Like, oh, we have a deal right now. It's an older home. We have well has failed. The well needs a new water treatment system, needs a new septic system. We've got broken seals and you name it, we need it. Okay. And we have an FHA buyer. Now it's interestingly enough, and I knew it's one of my buyer's agents has the listing. And that's the other thing. It's important that you guys understand financing. It's critical that you understand financing because if you have a rickety old house you're trying to sell and that buyer comes in with FHA or VA financing, that appraiser isn't just going to appraise for the value of the home. They're going to look at that home and look for safety items that need to be rectified because the federal government is not going to fund a loan to the Caddyshack, okay? So the problem is, if this place has fallen down, you have to say to yourself, there's going to be some safety items that more than likely the FHA appraiser is going to have to come back with. Does my client have the wherewithal to fix these things? Do I have a handyman that can fix these things? Am I dealing with grandma who can't do anything and has no money? Because then maybe FHA financing isn't the financing that we want to go with.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to fulfill what they need. And now we're agreeing to FHA financing and we're signing all these addendums saying we're going to do it. But now we're not going to do it. We have to. And we don't want to put our seller into a situation where we know they're going to be forced to fix things so that the buyer can get their financing if we are not in a position to do that, whether it's financial, the wherewithal, whatever, the resourcefulness, whatever it might be. But if you have handymen, but these are the things you need to know, and you can maybe go to that agent and say, hey, look, Mr. Buyer's agent, we love your offer and this is awesome, but the FHA financing is a little bit of a concern for us because we have these safety items. Hey, no worries, I've got a great handyman and together we can work this out. All right, cool. If the other person is going to be resourceful, say, all right, we're in this together. We're going to be like MacGyver, we're going to get this shit done. But if they're like, well, I don't tell you, okay, then that's a problem. Or then it more falls on your shoulders and you have to say to yourself, okay, how much of this am I going to be able to take on? And how many of these can I take on at one time and be successful?
And I think that's excellent advice that you're giving because we just had a scenario. One of my teammates, George, he's on the call today. One of his clients, they did a home inspection. The hot water heater is like at the end of its life. Like it's literally ready to shut down any day now. Went back to the listing agent and we said, look, it needs to be replaced, right? Because we're looking at a 45-day closing over here. It can break down on you or it can even break down on us, depending on our luck. We know this is going to happen. Let's come up with a solution. And I did my research. The agent did his research. And guess what? Buyer seller agreed. They're like, hey, let's split the cost. Let's make it happen because we want to purchase this home. But another example that I did want to give, I was on the phone and one of my other agents, he's on the call. He heard me talking to this buyer. And she said, Kavita, I wish somebody would have set me down and talked to me about different financing options. She's like, because no one ever told me I can buy a home with a loan that allows me to fix up the house, 203K rehab loan. And I said, that's why I'm calling you. We need to sit down. My job is not just to be a door opener. As beautiful as I am, I'm not just a door opener. This is what we do. We walk you through the home buying process. And I'm not a mortgage lender, but I can tell you all the different major loan options that are out there, depending on what you qualify for. That's what we're going to focus on.
And a big part of it from the very beginning, before we're even hopping in the car and looking at houses, is what are your goals, Mr. Buyer or Mrs. Seller? What are your goals? Why are you selling your home? Where do you want to go to? What's going on? Why do you want to buy? Where do you want to buy? Understanding their goals and then say, okay, what kind of money do you have? If you don't ask your clients about their money, you should just jump off a bridge. You are about to help them with the biggest financial purchase of their lives. It is okay to say, how are we planning on paying this? And I will say things like, how are we? How are we? We, not you, we. Because it now makes it sound like we're all in this together. How do you think we should handle this? What are you thinking we should do? We. That's not, it's their money, not my money, but it's we, because I don't want, it's not us against them. It's we, we're in this together. I'm here to help you, and we are going to get through this. What are your goals? What kind of money do you have? If we're buying a house that needs to be fixed up, do you have any cash to fix it up? Because the last thing you need is for first time home buyer kids to buy a dump and put all their money down. Now they can't rip up granny's carpet. Like, ugh, that's gross. Like, let's set them up for success. Is there something else that we can do? Nicole, you have a question. Hi. Nicole,
yeah, it's not about buyers, it's sellers. Well, I have a seller who is wanting to wait to put his house on the market. I had him talked into it finally, and then he, like, the next day was like, man, I just don't have time. I can't move. And I'm like, dude, let me pack your house for you. Like, put me to work. I'll do it for you. But what is something, I think also he's gonna want to price this too high, and he's gonna wait. So I've got 2 objections that I need to try to get with him to overcome. So any advice on those 2?
Well, the first thing in terms of, hey, I'm thinking about waiting. There are some people that think, oh, I missed the boat. I should have sold sooner, or it's going to get more. Real estate historically always is going up. We have little dips, but on the long haul, real estate's always going up. And when a buyer says, hey, I'm thinking about waiting, I can tell you, Mr. Seller, I'm sorry, if the seller is thinking about waiting, Mr. Seller, I can tell you right now, I know what homes are, like your home, we're selling for today. I don't have a crystal ball. I have no idea 6 months from now what a home like yours could sell for, or a year from now what a home like yours could sell for. I just know the market today. And right now we have a very unique situation where we have very low inventory and a good number of buyers. It's still taking time to get homes sold because buyers are feeling a little tentative because of interest rates and a handful of consumer confidence items. But the thing here is, sir, we can wait as long as you want, but the one thing that I can't control is everybody else that wants to sell their house. And if we have more inventory on the market, the one thing I do know is it's going to put downward pressure on your price, because the more homes there are for people to choose, now you guys, all the sellers are going to be competing with each other versus competing with a buyer. And I just know what the market's going to do now. Is there a reason that you want to wait, that we can't get this to happen sooner than later? And like you said, what he's saying now, if he says, hey, look, I'm not really ready. And okay, when do you think you might be ready? Is there anything I can do to help you with that? And then also, if Mr. Seller says, well, what you're thinking, hey, he wants to be at the top of the market, I would really have a great conversation, show him homes. And it's hard because not every house has like a comp, and not every house is a comp. It doesn't. I get that. Like, not everything's a cookie cutter. They're not that way. Sometimes it's unique. Like, okay, it's a unique property. What do I do? Try to share what we've got within the range and helping you understand, Mr. Seller, the homes are taking about 45 days to sell. The homes that are being priced more toward the top of the range for the product are taking this much time to sell. And the ones that are being at the product, more at the bottom price of the price point of the range, are taking this much time to sell. And where do you want to be from a time frame perspective? But if anything, if your concern is, get a 1-year listing agreement. And if they question it, well, shit, dude, you just told me you're not in any hurry. So what's the rush to expire the listing agreement if you're not in a hurry to sell it? Like, this is going to take some time. And it's okay. Sometimes sellers have to put their houses on the market. They have to have some showings, have to get some feedback, or they get nobody coming to then understand, okay, we're priced a little high. And I will often sometimes say to a seller, if they are adamant about their price, I completely disagree with this. I know that you are hiring me to be your professional. I will list your home at that price for 30 days. And if 30 days you don't have an offer that you find to be acceptable, we're going to reduce to this price. And I'm going to put it right in our listing agreement, because we're not going to have this conversation later. I think it's really important that we put our best foot forward from a marketing perspective, and coming out of the gate price rate is critical. I see where you're coming from. Oh yeah, we can always go down, but we can't go up. Well, you can also create a bidding war, and you'd be surprised at how far up it can go. But if that's what you want to do, no problem. We're just going to need a little more time on the market, because you have to set yourself up for success. It's a business decision. And keep in mind, it's a business decision. There have been many times where I was the third listing agent on purpose because I knew that people were batshit crazy and they were going to have to go through 2 other people before they were going to finally get the message. People have to get kicked a few times before they snap out of it. It's sad, but sometimes they have to learn that lesson where they don't have it together, and they have to experience that burn. A buyer may have to lose a house they've loved 3 times over before they realize, okay, let's get our shit together and become real buyers. And we have to press that pain a little bit sometimes to remind them that they need to get their act together. Does anybody have any other
I
questions?
can't wait till I'm that confident as a real estate agent to do that.
Yeah, so you gotta grab these people by the balls and shake them, for goodness sakes. They don't know. They don't know. And you do. You are the professional. You are the professional. And you have to tell them that. They don't know.
Right.
They
Right.
don't know. It's our job. And you act as if they're gonna go right along with you because they don't know any difference. Hey, well, she said we're gonna look at 5 houses and buy one. Okay, that's what she said. We're ready. That's what's happening. Okay, let's go. We're not looking forever. No. Right. And if you do a good job at that, if you do a good job peeling back that onion and having more conversation at the beginning and try to really understand what they're looking for, are you looking for a rental or no rental? Well, if you're not looking to rent, then I'm not going to put you in a building that's surrounded by renters. That's stupid. And how would I know it's surrounded by renters? Well, I don't know. When we go to a showing and there's signs on every deck that say for rent. You guys don't want to rent, right? Maybe this isn't the building for us because there's a lot of renters here. Let's see if we can't find something else. Like, just, I don't know, we got to use our brains to help them. And it's okay, I think, to be really forward with people and kind of take control. You know what I mean? If you don't do it, nobody will. Guys, peace out to everybody. God bless you. You are all children of God. You all are amazing. Don't let anybody stop you or steal your fire.